Even though our tutorial series is currently on hold, I wanted to give you a mini review of two lenses that we used last weekend for a wedding. The first is the Sigma 35 f1.4 and the second is the Sigma 85 f1.4. These lenses are great and they let in a ton of light. If you're fairly new to photography and you have a kit lens, let's say that it has an aperture of f4. These have apertures of 1.4. And numerically, that might not seem like a big difference, but what it means in practicality is that these lenses will let in 8 times as much light as a common kit lens. Now, that's really great for someone who does a lot of indoor things. If you've ever tried to take a picture of a pet running across the floor or a baby doing something cute in your living room and ended up blurry because your shutter speed wasn't fast enough, these kind of lenses will allow you to have a shutter speed that's 8 times faster given the same amount of light. And that's really awesome for people doing indoor things like weddings. They do have a small trade-off, and that is that the depth of field is really, really thin when you stop it down all the way. It gives a nice creamy out of focus look to things before and after your subject, but you need to be very conscious about how deep that depth of field is. You want to make sure that whatever you're trying to take a picture of, it ends up being nice and crisp. However, if you open these things up to be f4, f5.6, things become really, really sharp. I was very impressed with these lenses. They both have similar sharpness. They both have kind of a similar build. They're both about 1.5 pounds, and neither of them has image stabilization. And for some people, that actually can be a problem if you've got kind of shaky hands, or the weight of your camera plus lens is actually kind of a lot for you to carry for a while. You could end up with a little bit of shake. But again, one of the nice things about these lenses is that they are very fast. So even though it might be lacking image stabilization, you should be able to get shutter speeds that are much faster than you're used to, which should isolate some of that shake. I just wanted a quick walk of downtown Olympia to kind of give you an idea of what these lenses are capable of. The 35mm length is really great for kind of establishing shots so you can see whatever the subject is plus the scenery. Images that need to be a little bit tighter and more cropped are great with the 85mm because they really isolate the subject and bring your eyes to focus in on what it is you want to show. Now you might be thinking, these pictures look great, but Luke, I have a crop sensor camera, you have a full frame. If I were to go buy these lenses, the focal length would look totally different for me. And yes, that is true. Crop sensor cameras have a 1.6 multiplication factor relative to full frame. These focal lengths are going to look different. However, pretty much every professional photographer has 4 prime lenses. They have a 35, a 50, an 85, and a 135. If you were to go out and buy these 2 lenses for a crop sensor camera, you're effectively going to get a 50mm lens and a 135mm lens. The 85mm on a crop sensor is going to give you some amazing long focal lengths for portraits. Yes, you might have to stand a little bit farther back, but it's going to crush the background and make your subject just look beautiful. And having the 35 on a crop sensor effectively gives you a 50mm, which some people argue is like the quintessential focal length. So there really is no harm in buying these 2 lenses if you have a crop sensor camera, especially because someday if you upgrade to a full frame, you end up just kind of shifting the whole focal length thing up. And if you were to keep both cameras, you would end up with all 4 of those common focal lengths between just 2 cameras and 2 lenses. So anyway, we really like these lenses and we wanted to tell you about them. If you're looking to start out with just one, I would recommend the Sigma 35. The Japanese camera industry just awarded it Lens of the Year. So definitely take a look at that. And as always, stay tuned for more videos.